Welcome to Prophecy Talk. Welcome to Prophecy Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Kifa Ben Israel, Chief Apostle and Archbishop, founder and Archbishop of Kingdom Building Institute, along with being Chief Apostle in the body of Messiah. It is truly a blessing to be with you all here on Prophecy Talk, with no matter what platform that you're joining us on, whether you're joining us on the Facebook platform, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitter. We are more than excited to be alive on this day. There's a lot of things going on in the world of prophecy. And when I say the world of prophecy, I mean the world in general. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of discussions that I'm going to have today. Unfortunately, no guest today. I hope you guys are okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that. Blessings to you, Prophetess Sharon Kane, over there on the YouTube side. To all these people. And I want to start the program out by saying how blessed and thankful I am to all people that were sincerely praying for me. Just this past week, I had an emergency that happened. We're not going to get into the details of that because I'm learning more and more every day not to discuss all of my medical and physical circumstances with the public and with the world unless it's necessary. Um, I had a tremendous medical emergency all last week and basically the week before that really put me in a bad spot. So I want to thank everyone that was sincerely praying for me in those circumstances. And I'm not 100%. And just because I'm not 100% doesn't mean that I won't come to share with you guys, because that's even more the reason why I would come and share, because I have a mandate from the Most High Yahuwah to do just that. So I am here um, on behalf of who I represent, who is Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, in the kingdom, his kingdom, and representing Kingdom Building Institute and Ministries. So it's a blessing to be here. I'm pumped up. I'm excited about today's prophecy talk because this is a lot of things are happening. Let's get straight to it. There's a lot to talk about. I was just on Instagram, and I want to read you guys the article that I just received on Instagram, which is going to start our conversation today. We're going to get to a lot of things. A lot of things. We're going to be talking about Black Lives Matter. We're going to be talking about Derek Chauvin, the police officer, that the former Minneapolis police officer who is on trial right now for the George Floyd murder. So brace your seatbelts because we got quite a bit to talk about. Okay, first topic of today: the Vatican. The Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, bars gay union blessings and said God cannot bless sin. Woo-wee! Wow. The Roman Catholic Church has declared sin, has declared gay unions sin. Wow. How long did it take for this to happen? Pope Francis, the current presiding bishop, prelate, the bishop of all bishops, the vicar of Christ, as far as the Roman Catholics are concerned, has now declared that gay unions are definitely not to be blessed by their church. This has gotten people in an uproar right now because I told people this a long time ago that when you make your church apolitical, the world is going to try to dictate the way you run it and the biblical principles behind it. So the Pope has taken a stance and said that, look, we're not blessing any more gay marriages. Well, let me tell you something. He's not wrong. He is not wrong. And I want to speak to those that still have the conspiracy theory about the church and so on like that. The word universal is a another phrase used in the big scale of the word Catholic. So when we say Catholic Church, we're actually supposed to be talking about the universal church. That's everybody included, inclusive, if you will. That's what that word is supposed to mean. But there's so many misdefinitions of that word. And I think it's interesting that the Pope has come out today. Well, I don't know if it was today or yesterday. I know I saw it on Instagram this morning, and it was very interesting that Pope Francis has taken this stance. And he's got to know he's going to get heat for it across the world, and especially from the LGBTQ community. He's definitely going to get a lot of heat for that. The Bible itself considers the act of men with men and women with women an abomination, as it is spoken in Romans, the first chapter. We have taken the word of truth, we've taken the Bible, if you will, and we have twisted it to suit our actions. Now, I have always said that I don't have a problem with people being homosexual, being gay, queer, whatever you want to call it, into that alternative lifestyle, and I still don't. Now, that does not mean that I will acquit or approve of people holding positions in holiness with that lifestyle, because I don't. You can come to the church, you can come to the school, you can actually be a part of the worship service, all these things, but you're not going to be in leadership positions, or you're not going to stand in um, a position of deliverance, and you need to be delivered. Same thing goes for a whoremonger, pedophile, all those things. You can't, so because that's the first thing people look at and they point towards those things. They say, well, what about them? What about what they do? What about what she does? What about what he does? Well, in my book, none of it is good. And hats off to Pope Francis and to the International Roman Catholic Church in the Vatican in Rome for taking this stance, even though this is not a popular stance. And what does that mean for prophetic sense or for the end time? What that means that this is that this particular pope cannot be an advocate for the anti-Messiah or antichrist, as some of you guys like to say. He cannot be, because the advocates for the anti-Messiah will be people that go against the Bible and go against the principles of the Torah. Y'all better hear what I'm saying. These are people that go against the principles. This is hardly against the principles. This is right in line with the word itself. And I just am flabbergasted about it, because there's not enough. There is not enough time, even in an hour or 2 hours, to talk about my expression towards this, because to me, this is just tremendously awesome. It says a lot, and it is truly a victory, a feather in the cap of those that believe in righteousness and truth. It's a feather in our cap. Somebody stands for holiness somewhere. You know, all the things that's been happening in our society, and all the things that we've been seeing some pretty backward stuff. We've been dealing with some really backwards things, but here it is, something very positive just happened. How are we going to answer to that? I know there's a lot of my Hebrew brothers and sisters out there that probably don't even share in my excitement, because they don't really understand eschatology. They don't understand the metamorphosis of the end time, and how important this one thing truly is to the makeup of the end time measure that we are living in. This is a big deal. And we ought to pay attention to it more so than ever. I mean, that's number one. We're going to be coming back to that quite a bit. Today, um, there was preliminaries in the trial of Derek Chauvin, who is the former Minneapolis police officer who is on trial right now for the death and the murder of one George Floyd that happened almost a year ago now, a year and some change. The trial is getting underway. The judge was going over the preliminaries with the prosecution and the defense teams, letting them know what they're going to allow the witnesses to be able to say, and what kind of questionings that will be allowed uh, um, into play for the jury, and so on like that. We're continuing to pray with the power of the Most High that this is going to turn out to be a not only a fair trial, but that justice will be done, because the city of Minneapolis came to a $27 million settlement with the family of George Floyd, with $500,000 of that going back into the community of Minneapolis, the area where George Floyd was killed in, or at. That area, I forget the name of the streets, and somebody, if you know the name of the streets, you can put it in the chat so that I can know exactly what the name of the streets are. But I'm not real familiar with Minneapolis, Minnesota, because that's not an area I go to all the time. But $500,000 of the $27 million lawsuit will go back to that community in rebuilding and doing different things that are going to help that community with housing, restructuring, and so on and so forth. This is a moral victory, because this settlement, I don't know in the record books where this um, actually lands, how far it goes, but in the it's got to be some type of record. I'm gonna look it up for sure to find out. It's got to be some type of record. $27 million, and that's a civil suit. That's civil. We're awaiting the trial, the full swing of the trial for Derek Chauvin, to see if justice is really going to be done or not. Because we could get comfortable with the $27 million settlement and say that there's a victory in that, but in all actuality, that is just the beginning of things to come. That's only the beginning. We've got a long way to go, because we still got to get those officers prosecuted for the heinous act of the death of George Floyd. So that brings me to another point that I'm going to be talking about today here on Prophecy Talk, and that is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter just recently, and we all know that everything is a PR scheme when it comes down to information. If people didn't want you to know it, they wouldn't allow it to be in the news. So Black Lives Matter has allowed the news, of all places, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and all these people to put in that they raised over $90 million last year. It's a lot of money. The father of Michael Brown, one of the slain people in the namings to say his name, has said that he thinks Black Lives Matter owes him at least 20 million. Um, Family members of Tamir Rice have openly criticized Black Lives Matter, and this is interesting because now the narrative has to be, what is Black Lives Matter all about? I've never fully supported the organization. I love what they stand for and I love the meaning of it because I've been in the struggle for 50 plus years for black lives. Along with a lot of other people, our grassroots movements have been active for a very long time. So we can honestly say that Black Lives Matter does not speak for all of us of brown skin and brown and bronze skin. Doesn't speak for all of us because we've been fighting this battle on the political, geographical, and many other levels for quite some time. I've even heard Black Lives Matter being compared to some of the things that the Black Panther Party started. I would never say that. I don't agree with that at all because you have to look at the nature of what the Black Panther Party and Huey P. Newton and all those guys, what they stood for. It came as a spinoff from SNCC, okay, with Stokely Carmichael and John Lewis and all them guys, and the peace movements of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On to the Black Power movement that actually was really started within the movement with Malcolm X. Because you can't really talk about Black Lives Matter or any of that stuff, the radicalization of that stuff, without talking about Brother Malcolm X, the great prophet. You can't really go into all of that stuff without mentioning these names because they went into the grassroots part. Now the funny part about that, because I'm about to start a stir now, is that these people probably raised money in the early 60s and the late 50s and so on. They probably did raise money, but they didn't raise the millions that are being raised now that Black Lives Matter is professing. Now, they said that they gave grant funds to people, to families. They was giving $1,000 each to folks and so on like that. I don't know how that worked because I never saw anywhere where you can go and actually sign up for it. They said they gave it away. And I believe them when they say they gave it away. And I'm very sure, but I believe they gave it to whoever they wanted to give it to. I don't know who that may have been. They said it was almost 3,000 families that got the money. So they gave away, what, $3 million? That's what it equates to. And some $21 million to grassroots organizations, um, to continue in the struggle and in the fight and so on like that. That's what they say. I don't know. It's not even an allegedly. This is what they publicly said that they did. They're doing or have done with that part of that $90 million that they raised. So this is not some speculation that I'm saying. This is what they actually are saying they have done and are doing. Okay, and that's all well and good. It's all well and good, but I mean, there's a lot of people that's on the ground. There's foot soldiers that are really actually in the policy rooms trying to make a difference and to get brown and bronze voices heard out there. I don't know if Black Lives Matter is connected to all the grassroots people. I don't think they are, because they've never contacted any of the organizations that I deal with. And I ain't mad at nobody because I ain't getting no money. That ain't no big deal. We continue to do things without money. Speaking of money, if you want to donate to Kingdom Building Institute and ministries, in which the work that we do, the productions that we do, you can go to the Cash App, hit the $sign, type in Chief Apostle Keefa, or you can go to PayPal, paypal.me / capital K, capital ISREAL, and you can give to what we're trying to do as far as bringing you the latest in the prophetic and different things and so on like that. Um, yeah, all of this stuff that when we're talking about Black Lives Matter and so on like that, Black Lives Matter does not represent the entire message of the Black community. They represent a part of the message, and we commend them for all the things that they do. I really think the world of people like Tamika Mowry and Patrice Cullors, and all those people. They're doing it. I feel that they're doing a great PR job. It's one thing to do a PR job, but it's another thing to be on the ground with the boots on the ground and really, like, and I'm not talking about marching. I'm talking about in the legislative people's face, making a difference in certain things. And that's something that the brown and bronze community has had a problem with ever since before now. We gotta find a better way of organization. We gotta find a way to take the phrases and turn them into policies. We've got to be able to speak unadulterated without any interference with our words and things like that. See, we passed the point of marching. That Derek Chauvin trial that's going on right now, we got to make sure justice is being done. And there's really not much we can do outside of just pray that the state has a good case to present, so that Derek Chauvin and those officers can be prosecuted to the fullest extent. We got to pray about that, because there's still a web of deception going on out here. And we don't know how much of that web of deception is going to be interpreted into law. So I'm not exactly all sold out on the idea that justice is going to be served. I'm not totally sold out on that, because the $27 million civil suit, for whatever negotiation that was done about that, I just hope in my spiritual senses, or as they say, your spidey senses, my spiritual senses is telling me that $27 million is more political than it is restitutional. I just feel that way. And I could be wrong. But my spiritual senses are telling me that it is a lot more political than it is restitutional. And let me explain myself, because I know a lot of people are probably like, what does he mean by that? What I mean by that is that there's a way to grandstand to make things look like you care when you really don't care. Because people think that money answereth all things, even though in the Bible it says that money does answereth all things, but it gives us common sense to understand things too. And we know that the world and that the current system that we are dealing with is a money system. It was not made for fairness. It was not made for people to care. Okay, so in a propagated system that we're living in today, we have to be careful of the bait that is given unto us, and for us to be quiet. Some things are given to us to shut our mouths. That's what I'm saying to you. Some things have been given to shut our mouths completely. And I don't trust Democrats. I don't trust Republicans. As a matter of fact, when Ice Cube was trying to present the contract with Black America and so on like that, I jumped on the side of Ice Cube and was all for what Ice Cube was saying. And people were demonizing Ice Cube when he was willing to talk to the Trump administration and the Biden administration. So what's wrong with that? We can't trust none of them. Before there was Democrat, Republican, there was black. That's what you got to understand. Before there was any of that stuff out there, it was black. You didn't have a choice on which side to choose on. The color of your skin, your lineage made your side for you. But now we've got the luxury of deciding on which way to go and so on like that. We got some people that don't even think or even want to admit that there's still systematic racism going on in our systems. It's not just in America. Great Britain and all these places are finding out now that there is definitely a problem still with race. And it's really interesting that it's going to be interesting to see how this trial pans out and what's going to come from it. It's going to be very interesting. And I know I didn't put this on the heading as far as what the show was all about. And the vaccinations that are out here right now for the COVID-19, I think it's wonderful. It's great that we have the vaccinations out here. And I want to talk about a double standard real quick with the churches. There's a lot of churches that are promoting the vaccination, as they should. But how are you promoting the vaccination and then you're not talking about healthy living? You're not telling your congregants or the people that are in your community the proper ways of eating and taking care of themselves, but you're advocating the vaccinations. Now, I think that's kind of backwards. I think that's buffoonery. I'm just gonna just put it out there like it TIS. That is just plain buffoonery. You want to advocate one thing, but then you don't advocate the other when they both are connected. If you're taking the vaccination, I commend you, because there's a lot of people saying they're not taking the vaccination. And I'm not here to make a judgment one way or the other, or to try to tell you to do something that you don't want to do, because that's really up to the individual. That's their call. Okay. I took the vaccination, both shots of the Moderna. I'm quite fine, doing well. Okay. That I don't have any reactions or anything like that, or any of that stuff. I'm doing quite fine. So I took the vaccination. Okay. For anybody that is interested, I don't mind letting people know that I actually took it, and I'm fine. I would encourage anybody to take it, but I also, with the vaccination, encourage you to eat right, to have the proper diets, to evaluate your living situation. If you got chaos around you, to limit and eliminate the chaos around you, because you don't need all of that stuff, because all of that stuff affects your health. Every last bit of that affects your health, and it can cause things to be good, bad, and terrible. So I'm just really down on the spiritual community, the churches, I should say, because all churches are not spiritual, and that say, "Oh yeah, take the vaccination," but you ain't got to live healthy. You ain't got to eat right. That's a crock of bull in itself, people. What this COVID-19 has done has shown the vulnerable side of the lack of health care and the lack of proper dieting and eating of communities of color, including Latinos, Hispanic, etc., and so on like that, Native American. It has exposed our poor healthcare system and the lack of ability of knowledge about health. I was on a show with some other people on Facebook, probably a couple of months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and that's what we talked about was an improvement of health and the things that you can do, drinking lemon water, non-sugar things, and so on. We talked about a lot of different things and so on like that. And who knows, I might do the same thing on Prophecy Talk, as far as getting some people to talk about some health aids that will help you, because that's basically what we need. We got too many people in the church that are overweight. They're literally overweight. They're out of breath. Preachers that cannot even catch a breath in between you know, doesn't make any sense. Singers that, I mean, you guys get what I'm saying. And the poor health has been exposed, man. When you look at that, over 500 some odd thousand people that have died, whether you believe it or not, because that's another issue too. Some people believe that there has been that many deaths, and some people don't believe it. So whether you believe it or not, health has played a major part in some of these deaths, along with the contracting of COVID-19. Okay. Some people are doing a very terrible job in their health circumstances, keeping themselves healthy. And in the latter stages of my life, I'm finding out how much of the health really makes a difference when it comes down to the maintaining of oneself. Now, I know I didn't put that on the counter, and you guys were not expecting to hear me say all of this, but it's really important that we do it. Now, if you want to learn Bible, because here on Prophecy Talk, we talk about the relevant things that are going on, and the sense that it makes according to the Bible, and the comparison of it. Now, if you want to learn every Friday and Saturday, every Friday evening, which is Sabbath, and Saturday afternoon, still Sabbath, we go into biblical revelation and design and teaching on Zoom. We do that on Zoom. And we have a flyer that I put out on the various platforms, on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, so on and so forth, that will give you the information and the Zoom information. I mean, you can contact me on any of the platforms if you want to be a part of the class that we do strictly on Friday evenings and Saturday afternoon, depending on your time zone. But you can get with me, and I'll be glad to do that, because I love to teach, but I like to moderate also and be able to talk some common sense to you guys about a lot of things. I'm just blown away that there's churches advocating the vaccination, And there's a lot of people saying, I'm not going to take the vaccination and it's going to this, it's going to do that. Man, come up off y'all little scary behinds. Okay. Some of y'all taking stuff I would never take. Okay. And we've got to slow the curve of this COVID-19 some kind of way. It's not working your way because we're being so rebellious and running around here with no mask and so on like that, which make things worse. I remember when this thing first came out, I was urging and begging churches not to gather and to be able to do the platform like what I'm doing right now, which is a virtual platform so that we could, get a little bit more things done on a virtual platform. You would have less distraction and more ways of being able to do stuff. I've been begging people to do this for the longest. And, you know, it's worked for some people, it's sometimes not. I mean, I've noticed how people take to digital platforms and they live off of the pains and the hurts of other people. And that's something that I personally would not do. Now, if it causes me not to make any money, then oh, so be it. Because I cannot benefit off of the pains and hurts of other people. Hello, somebody. That's just not a cool circumstance or situation. So, yeah. So, so many things to talk about. So many things. And I know that some of y'all out there, you can make some suggestions in the comment box and the space bar if you got any real questions while I'm here today. Um, we'll try to put your question up there on the show it up on the thing. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can. Okay, Sharon Kane. She said, always praying for me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the prayers. And blessings again to you, Sharon Kane. Blessings to you. All right. All right. Hallelujah. We're always putting something up there. So, yeah, it's so much going on, and I think the deal with the Pope is a real big deal. I think it's a major setback to the conspiracy theory folks, that the Pope would say that he's not gonna that the Catholic Church is no longer gonna bless gay union and marriages anymore. Uh, the Pope is within the boundaries of the Bible. Romans, the first chapter, says it is an abomination to be turned over to the man lusting after man and woman lusting after woman. That's not a natural affection. So that puts me in the position to say that I welcome all people of all lifestyles into the church, but not into positions in the church and not into positions over other people in the church because they need to be delivered because it's obvious that the Bible has classified this as not a normal behavior. So if the Bible is saying it's not a normal behavior, so what the heck is wrong with some of y'all? And that is something that I'm just really not. So so the all-star of the night of the day is Pope Francis and his denouncing of the blessing of gay union and marriages. Hats off to you, man. You're gonna receive a lot of criticism, and people are knocking you right now in the public news, but they're not biblical. I'm an authority in the spiritual realm, so I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So I guess they're gonna bash me too. We're used to getting beat up. We are used to getting beat up, and that ain't nothing new. Okay, but that is such a wonderful thing. Okay, we want to thank y'all for allowing us to come back into your homes with Prophecy Talk. Um, The show lasts longer. The more people participate and get in and make comments and things like that, that's when the show lasts a lot longer. We don't mind getting into deep discussion with people. As a matter of fact, I don't mind putting the link up so people can join me on the video and actually ask questions or make a comment and so on like that. That doesn't bother me. All we have to do is just get people willing to do it. But other than that, I'm glad to be back active because it's just been a very rough week for me. It's really been a rough year this past year because I went through a very serious operation on my eyes back in August of 2020, and I'm still dealing with the complications of that. So it is tremendous to be alive. I'm glad to be in the land of the living. I'm glad to be still breathing, talking, pulling weight. It feels good to be alive. And it still feels good to be able to sponsor Prophecy Talk and do what needs to be done. Now, you guys need to donate. Please prayerfully consider donating and pouring into the work that we do. It takes a lot of work to prepare for these type of things. I am the Dr. Kepha Ben Israel, Chief Apostle, Major Prophet into the body of Messiah, Archbishop in our Lord's Church. And I'm thanking y'all for joining us here on Prophecy Talk. We'll be back again tomorrow for another show that will be just as enlightening as the show tonight. Thank you very much. Shalom to every last one of you, and be blessed.